Yeah, there we go. I'm live. Okay, I just want to get on this live just to talk to you about something really quickly, and it is the influence of what we consume and how it affects us. Now, I'm talking particularly about social media. Why? Because, well, I took a break from social media during the big COVID-19 sort of challenges in March and April. And that meant taking a break from Facebook. For me, Facebook was quite an addiction, I guess, that I was always on Facebook. I was always looking at things. I was always getting into discussions with people. And I say discussions with people. But what I found was that Facebook was actually making me feel a little bit uneasy because there's just so much misinformation there. There's so many discussion points there, shall we say. And there were so many things that I didn't agree with and annoyed me. Let's take it from anything from, COVID was a hoax or is a hoax. The government are trying to control us by asking us to stay at home. I have a right not to wear a mask. You have to wear a mask. You don't have to wear a mask. The science is all flawed, etc., etc., etc. And it's just, we all have our different opinions, and those should be respected, I think. And if you're going to disagree with somebody, that's fine, but think about how that could be affecting you because, I've gone on a little unfriend spree recently because if I don't want to know about something, if I don't agree with it, I don't want it flooding my timeline. Now, does that mean that I'm intolerant? Does that mean that I can't discuss things with people? No, it just means that I would prefer to consume interesting information. I prefer to consume information that will fulfill me, which will make me a better person, which will be of more interest to me, rather than information which will annoy me. And I was getting annoyed because some people like the current political situation in their countries, in their countries, not just one country. Others, agree with it. Others disagree with it. Others will die for their views, etc. And this is the problem that people will literally die for their views, and they will stick up for them no matter what. And again, that's fine and that's perfect, and fair play to you, etc. But don't be afraid to distance yourself from social media. Don't be afraid not to engage with people, or don't be afraid to unfriend them if you feel that what they are saying or what they're sharing is a waste of your time. Now, that could be even if they're just posting funny jokes, funny memes, or memes, or memes, or whatever they're called, funny videos, etc. You don't have to be a part of it if you don't want. And there's lots of people that, even though they might have different political views to me, the majority of the stuff that they actually post is of interest. Like, for example, the other day I saw an argument between two internet business people or internet marketers. And, one was saying one thing about the other and the other was retaliating. And both of them just look bad, I think, at the end of the day. Look, uh, they just look silly, bickering like that, etc., etc., etc. So I don't need that stuff. So there's also a snooze button on Facebook. I don't know if you're aware of it, that you can actually just say snooze any updates from such and such a person. So don't be afraid to use these things that you have, because maybe take a break from Facebook and see how that affects your mood, how that affects your life. But Facebook is not the only culprit. The other culprit, of course, is the media. And yes, the media is biased, whichever media outlet that you read. Um, uh, I personally sometimes I look at the Guardian, which I think is quite a good newspaper. I could be wrong again, depending whether you're left, right, centre, or whatever it may be. You may say it's too liberal, it's too conservative, whatever. But uh, try and reduce the time in the media, because I remember when the COVID started off here in Spain, I was checking one of the Spanish newspapers like every hour to see the updates, to see the amount of infections and deaths and what was happening and what they were closing, what they weren't closing. And it gets all consuming and it takes over your life, exactly like the way Facebook was or is. So ask yourself, what are you consuming right now? Is it helpful? Instead of spending half an hour on Facebook, could you spend half an hour, I don't know, listening to some music that you like, which will make you feel better? Instead of spending half an hour on the media site, could you be reading a book? Could you be going out? Could you be disconnected from the computer? Because I think as well, while many of us are still maybe working from home or working more from home, we tend to be at a screen for many, many hours. I would say I switch on my screens from seven, half seven in the morning, and I put down my final screen, which would be this little guy, just before I go to bed. So it is just constant screen, 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 screen. So consider that as well. Yesterday, for example, we have my nephew over at the moment, myself and my wife, my nephew, we went to one of the gyms, the chain of gyms that we're members of, and they have an outdoor pool where they allow kids to go in. And it was absolutely amazing. I said to my wife, this is like being on holiday. It's a huge outdoor pool. I'm not a swimmer, but you could lie on your back and just look up at the sky and you hear the sound of everybody screaming and shouting, and it's like being on holidays. It was amazing to disconnect. And this last week I've been forced to disconnect and reduce a lot of the work that I do in the evenings because my nephew is here, and it's been pretty good. The world hasn't ended. I'm still doing bits and pieces. I got the chance to do lives like this. But, the idea is there that you need to disconnect from the screens, from the social medias, from the mainstream media, from the not so mainstream media, etc. And remember, whatever view you have, you will find more evidence to support that view. So if you see that there's evidence against wearing masks, you will search out and you will find more evidence that says wearing masks don't work. If you believe that wearing masks do work, you'll find evidence for that as well. Um, Respect everybody's views. Don't get involved in Facebook fights, etc. It's just not worth it. It's burning up your energy, and and I think of it as I get older. We have so little time left on this planet that do we really want to be wasting so much time bickering with people? Again, this is not hiding away from reality, but this is just choosing what you want to focus on. And the more you focus on something, the more of it you get. Okay? I'd be interested to know your comments. I'd be interested to know uh, whether you agree or disagree with me, and just leave the comment. And because I'm doing this as a simultaneous live, um, if you're watching this on Periscope, if you're watching this on Facebook, if you're watching this on YouTube, well, let me know your comments. All right, guys.